Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, the first thing that we are told in Surah Yusuf, verse 4, is that Yusuf tells his father that he has seen a dream in which 11 stars and the sun and the moon are prostrating to him. Yaqub alayhi salam, who is a messenger at that time, informs the son not to share his dream with his brothers, otherwise they will conspire against him because Satan is an enemy to man. Now let's first try and understand the purpose of giving a child a dream like this. The Almighty never places a burden on any soul more than it can bear. Allah, in all His infinite wisdom, knew that Yusuf's journey was about to begin, and He knew that it would be a huge test for his father. So at that moment, the dream was given more as a consolation to Yaqub alayhi salam than Yusuf alayhi salam. Because if the dream was consolation for Yusuf alayhi salam alone, Allah could have sent him the dream when he was in the well or when he was taken to Egypt. It would have still consoled him. But sending it before anything has even happened reveals that it was mostly a consolation for the father. Yaqub was being emotionally prepared for what's coming. That is why you can see that Allah ensures that Yusuf alayhi salam has the dream. He shares the dream with his father, and he also ensures that Yaqub alayhi salam interprets the dream correctly. So in this manner, it becomes clear to Yaqub alayhi salam that his son has been selected to be a prophet. So naturally, having been given this vital information, when the son does disappear later on, Yaqub alayhi salam will know that his son is going to be just fine because he has been selected for something great. Yes, he will miss his son, but he will know for sure that not only must Yusuf be safe, but the family will be reunited eventually. In fact, you will notice the same thing with Ibrahim alayhi salam. Allah knew that sending Ibrahim a dream to sacrifice his son, Ismail, will be too difficult for any father. So to make the test bearable, consolation came through the son who had to be sacrificed, as I mentioned in the Ibrahim alayhi salam series. This proves that Allah knows exactly what our hearts need to hear in order for us to succeed in the test, and that is precisely what He gives us. Our role is to have tawakkul and to trust Allah's plan. So after Yusuf's disappearance, Yaqub knew that the dream implied that everyone will be reunited, but he didn't know when. After decades of waiting, his job was to have tawakkul and never give up hope. Now there's an interesting difference between the manner in which Allah consoles a father and the way in which Allah consoles a mother. In the case of Musa alayhi salam's mother, Allah did not just give her a dream or make her hear some words of consolation promising her that everything will be fine. Through inspiration or ilham, Allah shared His entire plan with Musa's mother, as is mentioned in Surah Taha and in Surah Qasas. She was instructed to place the baby in a river when she fears for his safety, after which the baby will be raised by one who is an enemy to him, in other words, Pharaoh, but she should not fear because he will be returned back to her and he has been selected to be a messenger. So just as Allah had promised, she was quickly reunited with her son in the Pharaoh's palace. But why the difference? Why is it that for a father, a dream was sufficient, but for a mother, through ilham, the entire plan had to be shared? The difference stems from the fact that a mother will find it far more difficult to be separated from her child than a father. Both will be perturbed, but the mother will be more distressed, so she needs greater consolation. Simply telling her that everything will be fine isn't enough. She needs to know the entire plan. She needs to know where her child will be and for how long her child will be there and what has Allah planned for her child's future. And that is precisely what Allah gives her. For fathers, given that they are emotionally strong, they also need consolation, but not as much as a mother. So Allah gives them exactly as much as they need. And this proves that Allah never places a burden more than a soul can bear. And never does Allah expect His slave to pass his test entirely on his own. Consolation always comes as much as the slave's heart needs. Now the second question we could ask is, why is the father telling the son that if he shares the dream with his brothers, they will conspire against him? won't that result in Yusuf hating his brothers? Wouldn't it be better to just tell Yusuf not to share the dream with anyone, instead of specifically mentioning the brothers and then telling him that the brothers will conspire against him? At times when there is a credible threat or danger to a child, the parent will share details of the threat in order to arouse fear in the child. Fear will make the child remain cautious and vigilant. In this case, if the father simply told Yusuf not to share the dream with anyone, there is no fear attached. There is no hint of a potential threat or danger. So the child might be tempted to share it with his brothers, whom he considers to be very nice and caring. So to make the child vigilant and cautious, so that he takes the threat seriously, he is told that his brothers might conspire an evil plan against him. Now, the thought of having his brothers do something evil to him is what makes the child realize that the situation can get very dangerous, so he has to be careful. In fact, also note how the father ends by informing the child that Satan is an enemy to insan. By doing this, Yaqub al-Islam ensures that his son doesn't think of his brothers as being evil people. Instead, Yusuf will understand that his brothers might do something evil to him if he shares the dream, because Satan will encourage them. In other words, insan by default is good. He was born according to his fitrah, which means his natural state is good, not evil. It is Satan that tempts man. This lesson was so important for Yusuf al-Salam because it would pave the way for him to forgive his brothers years later. From this, we learn that conversations we have between family and friends should always be filled with wisdom. In this case, a child was being informed of a potential threat from his brothers, while at the same time, the child is being reminded that his brothers by default are good people. So if they do something bad, they shouldn't be judged for their mistake. They should be forgiven if they are deserving of forgiveness and if they do indeed repent. Because by default, every human being is good. And now, of course, the final question we can ask is that how did Yaqub al-Salam reach the conclusion that his sons would try and harm Yusuf? That is explained in the subsequent verses, which we will discuss in the next episode. Assalamu alaikum.